I was gonna like this, but I did not.
I couldn't tell you the last time I disliked a book as much as I disliked Powerless.
I hate when I give a negative book review.
This book is bad.
I'm so sorry, but I hated Yellowface.
What if book reviews had not existed and all we had to do as readers is read our books and kept our mouth shut? Read our books. We couldn't tell anyone about our books. There was no way we could leave our feedback. Just imagine that. I guess we have all those freedom fighters to thank for free speech, right? Now, book reviews are important. They're very significant to the book culture. But at the same time, I believe they can be very, very toxic. Because what can help you find your next great read or your next 5-star, 6 stars, or 10-star, you know how outrageous book reviews can get these days, can also ruin the book for you before you even flip the book open, It's like we're getting to a stage where reviews are not just reviews anymore. So while they're necessary, I believe that book reviews have and can cause a lot of problems because whomever said sticks and stone may break my bone, but words can't hurt me. I think they're quite wrong, and we can all agree because we both know how harmful, or we all know, I assume, how harmful book reviews can be to both readers and authors. Now, if you disagree, please respectfully leave your thoughts down in the comments below. Hi, welcome back. My name is Anna, and if you're interested in reading vlogs, book reviews, the occasional controversial bookish hot take, don't forget to subscribe, especially since it is $3.99. Now, as a disclaimer, and as my need to not get canceled on today's internet or whomever's internet it is, every time it changes, I have to say I'm a firm believer in free speech. Now, this is not a dictatorship. I'm not trying to tell you how to consume books, when to consume books, should you leave or should you not leave book reviews. If you believe that book reviews aren't harmful, that's your opinion. It's called we have fought, or ancestors have fought for free speech for a reason. You're free to say whatever you want on the internet, and that's why I'm free to say whatever I want. You don't have to listen to me because who the hell am I? I'm just a goofy bookworm on the internet. You don't have to take anything I say, and if you do take it with a grain of salt. This is not facts; it's opinion. And so, with all my disclaimers out the window, I just have to say again, if you at any point disagree with me, you please respectfully leave your thoughts in the comments down below. I'm not trying to start a war on the internet, okay? So, what are book reviews? I'm going to assume that none of you have been living under a rock, somewhere on a farm or wherever, and you have heard of book reviews. But in the event that you are an alien from outer space, welcome to planet Earth. I hope that you like it here. And don't worry, I'm more than happy to explain what book reviews are. They're just people's thoughts and feedback on any type of book or printed literature. Am I saying that right? Anyways, I'm talking about Goodreads, Fable, Storygraph, something as simple as YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. Reviews have been reduced to something as simple as I like it, I didn't like it, this was a 5-star, this wasn't a 5-star, I didn't like this book, I liked this book. That's what book reviews are, plain and simple. What are the problem with book reviews? Now, I could go on for years, for eternity, about the issues with book reviews, but I'm going to share 3 issues that I personally have when it comes on to book reviews. Hopefully you've noticed a few of these too. I do have my notes here with me because my brain is still not as good as it used to be, and I don't want to get sidetracked. So from time to time, I will look away to check my notes to ensure I'm saying what I should say, and that, I'm getting my point across the way I intended it to. So my first problem when it comes on to book review is it's the way how it can persuade readers' opinions. You'll go on the internet and you'll see someone that you like, gave this book a 1 star, and because in the past they've given you really good book recommendation, you'll assume the book is a 1 star book yourself and probably won't read it. And the reason why I think this is bad is a lot of people read reviews more than they even read blurbs, if they even read the blurbs. So you'll be trying to find a new book, and I also have to mention I did make a video in regards to the significance of book reviews where I did mention that a lot of people will, in this economy, books are expensive, and so in kind of a way to save on money, people will read reviews before they even read the blurb, and they'll try to decide if the book is a good choice. Now, a certain book has a certain negative review, especially if it's especially if the review is biased. That's the word I'm trying to find. And you read this book, you read this review, and you're like, oh no, I don't want to buy this book anymore. And the thing about negative reviews is negative reviews doesn't always mean that they're right and if a book is bad. Because there are people out there who, if they start reading a romance book and it has too much smut, they'll give it a 2 star because, oh, there is too much spicy scene, but that's what romance are. Or they'll start reading a romantasy, and because because there was romance in the fantasy, which it's ironic at this point because that's what romanticists are. They'll say, "Hey, I didn't enjoy this book because there was romance." I'm assuming that's what romantasy is, but clearly some people don't know. And so negative reviews don't always mean that the book is bad. But when we're living in a time where a book is $30 and all I need to see is 5 negative reviews, and I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't buy that book. And so reviews have been the persuader of how we spend our money when it comes down to books and how, or opinions on said books. Like there's books that I'm personally I've been what of this. There's books where I will read the review and I'll be like, I'll not like the book. For the longest while, one of the books that this happened for me is for the longest while I did not want to read Fort Wing because everyone kept saying it's just spice, it's just spice, it's just everyone kept saying that the book is like 50% smut. And so for the longest while I did not read Fort Wing, and I'm like, and I heard one person said something about the dragons, and I'm like, oh my god, I have to read that book. And I read it myself, and I don't recall if there was spice in Fort Wing because at the same time I was reading Fort Wing for the dragon. So if you were to ask me if Fort Wing is spicy, I wouldn't know what to tell you because I read it for the dragons. So like I've said, reviews can be helpful, especially when the reviews are readers' own opinions and not what the internet says, or us not as readers not letting the internet dictate what is we're reading. Because when we start doing that, that's when we have a problem, you know? So the reviews are supposed to be based on your personal take on the book and not based on a personal take of a massive group of people. This is it's like you could give two people a piece of chocolate. And if one says, "Oh, I like it," and the other says, "I like it," but they're only saying that because the first person said it, that's no longer your own opinion. And when it comes down to the consensus of whether or not a book is worth it, like how can we really take reviews at face value or as a personal when reviews are people are not leaving reviews because of what they thought, but because of what they thought everyone else thought. You see what I'm saying? So let's talk about toxic review culture. You know, reviews have gotten to a stage where um they feel like personal attacks on readers. Why does your review of a book has to or need to include what someone else said about it? Well, like for example, I read Fort Wing. I thought it was a 5 star. you read it and you think it's a 3-star. Instead of leaving your reasons why you think it's a 3-star, you thought that you would mention that I'm dumb for thinking Fort Wing is a 5-star book. That's not you telling anyone your opinions on the books. That's you just attacking me for what I thought. I was kind enough to share my thoughts and my opinions on why I like Fort Wing. Instead of you do the same as to why you don't like it, you decide that you're going to tell a bunch of people that everyone who liked the book is an idiot. Now, you might think that you're bringing across a I said across a point across. Oh my God. Oh my God. Please forgive my foggy brain. Now, you might think that you're bringing across a point, but all you've done is made people who read the book and liked the book felt guilty for liking the book. And these will be the same people who say that reading should be fun. But when you're attacking people for reading books, when you claim that reading should be fun, how is that fun for anyone? Then there are the people who like to harass authors. As someone who is currently working on my book and I do want to become an author myself and I do struggle with social anxiety, there is constructive criticism, but let's not get that confused with harassment because those are not the same thing. And I've said this multiple times, but I keep thinking I have to say it again. Unless the artists have imprinted themselves in the art, please separate the art from the artist or the author. Now, it's okay to say a book is trash, but you don't have to say the author is trash too. Like, I feel like in the 21st century, we have to keep saying this. And I know that some people are making AI write books, but for the most part, authors are humans too. Okay? And so reading is reading should be fun. Leaving book reviews, it should be okay for an author to put out a trashy book and you read that trashy book and you go online and say, hey, this book was trash, and leave the author out of it, okay? Please. Then there's everyone's favorite review bombing. You give a book 1 star because it wasn't what you were expecting, or you hate the author, or there's some drama going on online, or you simply want to sink this book before it gets to shore or before it's even released. There are multiple reasons. The thing that I find funny is for people who say they love books, I can't believe that some of you would call the things you leave online reviews. To me, it's just sabotage. And in a community where there's authors and readers, both parties make up the book community. And the book community, we live in a type of symbiotic relationship. And whether or not that relationship is mutualistic or parasitic, I think it's up to you, or possibly me. Now, readers can't exist without authors, authors can't exist without readers. And I just think that we should, when we're leaving these negative quote unquote reviews, sometimes it just needs to be about the book, I just, there's so much more I want to say, but I just can't say. Then there is the trend push plus chasing and the standardization of books. I've spoken about this in previous videos. If romantasy gets popular, that's what's going to get pushed. If dark romance gets popular, that's what's going to get pushed. And before you know it, we have a bunch of books that are basically all the same. And then we lose out on the weird little funny books that just live rent free in our minds, in our head. Like, it's probably a little popular now, but Me Before You is one of those books where it was published years ago and it wouldn't fall into the norms of today's romantasy and dark romance, but it was a really good romance. And I've watched the movie before I read the book, and I read the book. It was a 5-star. I read the book in I think late 2023, early 2024. And it's one of those books that it lives with me. It's become like anytime I think of a romance book to recommend to people, it's Me Before You. I just believe that when we're leaving reviews, I just want us to go back to where reviews were reviews. It wasn't about reviews weren't about authors. It wasn't about readers. It's about you reading a book and you giving your personal intake, not because Billy Joe, everyone else on TikTok, everyone else on BookTube Live. It's just like every time I go online, we're seeing the same 100 books. It's a Sarah J. Maas. I've never read any of her books, so I can't really talk on anything about her books. But we keep saying the same books over and over and over and over and over again. And I don't know if you're sick of it, but I'm sick of it. I'm just thinking that, like, I love that. I love where we have come in terms of a book community, in terms of reviews. But I want us to go back to when reviews used to be your review and not everyone else's reviews. And I'm getting a massive migraine, so I'm going to end this video right here. I'm just saying that I'm just sick of seeing the same tropes: enemies to lovers, touch her and die, morally gray man, morally gray man, morally gray man, um, lost, these fade daddies, shadow daddies, whatever you call them. And we've gotten to a stage where I'm afraid, because as someone who is writing a book, I'm afraid that if I don't force myself to conform to these norms, I might never get my book traditionally published. And we're losing out on creativity, originality, and publishers are not willing to take risk anymore. Because if I write a book that does not involve enemies to lovers, doesn't follow the morally gray man, all of that stuff, and so books have become this as a result of reviews. Books have become these check marks. Oh my god, I've seen reviews where all the reviewer said enemies to lovers. Nothing about whether they like the book, what the book is about, just enemies to lovers. I've seen reviews where it's talking about some shadow fey looking shadow daddy. I don't follow that stuff. I'm not saying that they're good and bad to everything, and I just want us to go back to in the middle. You know, I want the scales to be balanced. For every good review, there's a bad review. You know, I want the scales to go back level. When we're at a stage where we have more negative review, and when I say negative, I think I should mention a review can be positive and still be negative. When you say, "Oh, I like this book," and you say, "Oh, because of Sarah J. Maas," that's a positive review in a negative light. Because all I've heard is that if anyone else had written this book, you would not have liked it. So you're not telling me that you like the book, you're telling me that you like the author. And where reviews are concerned, leave the authors out of it. Just review the book. Talk about what you like, the characters. I'm gonna have to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I just don't want creativity to be replaced by conformity. I just want to go back to a place where these weird ass books live rent free in my head. But instead, I feel like the weird books are being kidnapped by yet another Faye looking shadow daddy. And I want to be able to love weird books and see weird books getting loved. But all those authors who, like, I have a really good sense of humor. When I write, I like my books to be filled with humor. But we don't have any books with that anymore. Like, romance have all those. I just want us to go back to where reviews were about the books and not per se about what everyone else thinks about the books. Because we have younger minds. When I was like I keep thinking I read 50 Shades of Grey when I was 17. I was actually 15 because the movie came out in 2015, and in 2015 I would have been 17, and I read the books 2 years before, so I was 15. And when I was 15 and reading books, we didn't have per se the internet the way we do now. So I was just going out and getting books, or my friends were lending me books, and I was reading. And my thoughts, we used to have these little book clubs, and everyone used to have their own thoughts. Like, I love 50 Shades of Grey. I had friends who didn't, and we talked about that. And me talking about 50 Shades of Grey, it didn't sway them. I wasn't like, my review on the book wasn't convincing them why they should like it or why they shouldn't like it. And I just believe that you can like a book and leave your thoughts on it. And I should be able to leave my own thoughts on it, and you don't go through a fit or get in a tantrum because I didn't agree with you. And it's okay to defend the books that you love. Just don't let other people feel bad for not sharing your thoughts or your feedbacks, because opinions, it's what a person think for themselves. It shouldn't, unless they're stating facts about the books, let people have whatever opinions they want, and it's fine for us to agree to disagree, basically. I really love that more books are getting published. I'm just afraid that the publishing industry has become one big copy paste machine. Every book is an enemies to lovers. Every book is a touch her and don't die. And bottom line is, reviews are powerful, books are powerful, and knowledge is power. And I just think that while both of them can be good, I just believe that they have pressured an entire community into becoming so trend based. It's like we're all mindless robots just moving in this cog. I don't know what the cog is, but no one has a thought for themselves anymore. And if you're not thinking for yourself, your opinions are not your opinions. And so your book reviews are not your book reviews. And if they're not your book reviews, whose book reviews are they? And it's like all these readers are like puppets. And I would love to know who's the puppet master. Who's the one pulling all the review strings? You know what I'm saying? It's just, I could go on and on and on about how passionate I feel about this. But I just want to know your thoughts. Just let me know what are your thoughts. Do you think that reviews are toxic, or do you think that um do you believe that it's okay for people to do review bombing, to leave reviews based on their parasocial relationship with some author? Do you think that a review should be reduced down to yes, no, maybe? Do you think that a review should be just a reader saying, hey, this was an enemies to lovers? Because that, I don't know if that tells you anything, but it doesn't tell me anything. I just want to know your thoughts and your feedbacks and what you think for once. Not what the interest. I want to know what you think. Let me know, what are your opinions. You have to keep saying this. I want to know what whomever is watching this, thinks about the way that the review culture has been. I can't find the word. Just let me know what are your thoughts on how reviews are being done these days. And we're at the end of another, what I would want to say, successful video. And so, if I have not been canceled, I just want you to know, keep devouring those books, you beautiful or handsome bookworm, and I'll see you in my next video. Have a wonderful year, month, week, day, hour, minute, second, and I'll see you next time. Bye.